Chapter-7 Death and Survival. There was a rehearsal of Sai Baba's death as early as 1886. He said to Mahasamadhi, a devotee already referred to, who resided permanently at Shirdi and slept beside him at the mosque, "I am going to Allah. Take care of this body for 3 days. If I return, I will look after it myself. If not, bury it in that open land over there and put up 2 posts to mark the place." Baba's breathing and circulation stopped. His heart stopped beating. The civil authorities held an inquest and pronounced him dead, and ordered Mahasamadhi to bury or cremate the body, in accordance with the law that a body is not to be kept longer than 24 hours. Mahasamadhi, of course, refused. On the 3rd day, breathing began again, and the abdomen was seen to move. Then Sai Baba opened his eyes and returned to life. It was after this, in fact, from about 1900 that his fame began to spread widely. From about 1910 till his death in 1918, there were unending streams of visitors from Bombay and other towns. They forced pomp and ceremony on him that he did not want, processions with horses and elephants, a silver chariot, incense and singing. During the processions, they loaded him with jewelry. They treated him like a maharaja and like the idol of a god. He disliked all this, but they would not be refused. Still, he continued to go out and beg his food. His health gradually weakened. He suffered badly from asthma. The striving for his devotees was strenuous, because a guru takes the burden on himself. Even physically, it may be so with the performance of cures. On the Vijaya Dasami Day in 1916, Baba had an attack of frenzy when he tore off his clothes and went about stark naked for 2 hours, crying out that it was his day of crossing the frontiers. It was on the same day, 2 years later, on 15th October, by the Western calendar, that Baba breathed his last in human form. Before going, he sent some devotees back to Bombay, who had intended to stay, and detained others who were due to leave. He bade farewell to one who used to pay him fortnightly visits and told him not to continue coming. None of them seemed to have grasped the point of these dispositions. Baba sent word to another Muslim saint saying, "The light that Allah lit, He is taking away." And the saint received the message with tears. He gave 200 rupees for feeding fakirs, and they sat chanting prayers and reading the Quran. It was the time of the Hindu feast of Dasara, and the Rama Vijaya was read before him. He had been sick for a few days, but those around him did not realize that it was the final sickness. In the morning he was ill. About midday he sat up and gave first 5 rupees and then 4 to the Brahmin who used to receive a daily 4 rupees for preparing his food. For the food he begged was often uncooked and was cooked later at the mosque. He sent those who were with him out to take their lunch. 2 Brahmins alone remained with him, and one of them relates as follows. "Baba gave me his last instructions on the day he breathed his last. After sending Dixit away, he gave some instruction and told me to keep quiet about it, saying that I would die if I revealed it to anyone. Then he said, 'I am going. Carry me to the Wada. Only Brahmins will be near me.' With these words, he breathed his last. After these words were spoken, Nana Naimon Kar poured water into his mouth, but it came out. I held my hand under his chin to catch the water. Baba expired leaning against me. Sai Baba was here using the word Brahmin in its true meaning of spiritually inclined person, as he did, for instance, when he said, "This is a Brahmin mosque." By Wada, he referred to the building where he was to be buried, a large stone house built by Bapu Sahib Bhuti. Some years previously, Sai Baba had appeared in a dream both to him and Deshpande the same night, desiring him to build it. When Bhuti asked his permission to do so, he not only consented, but said, "When the temple is built, we will live in it." Once Sai Baba was no longer physically alive at Shirdi, Bhuti had no wish to occupy the newly completed building, so it was used, as its destiny had been, to house the shrine. Despite Sai Baba's expressed wish, there was disagreement about his burial, the Muslim followers holding that he was one of them and should be buried by them in a building to be erected for the purpose. The civic authorities therefore circulated 2 petitions for signature, and as more than double the number petitioned for burial in the Wada, this was done. It was both agreed by parties that the Wada and the mosque should be kept open for pilgrims of all religion. The fire which Sai Baba always maintained is still kept burning at the mosque, but railings have now been put around it. The sacred ash is given out as before to devotees who desire it. The railings have also been put up at the entrance at the east end of the mosque. Sai Baba was fond of smoking tobacco from clay pipes, which quickly broke or got foul, and hundreds of which littered the mosque and its courtyard when he passed away. Many were taken away as relics, and then the remainder were gathered up and cemented into a block, which is kept in the mosque together with the water pot and coconut shell jug he used to use. The Shavadi, or rest house, where for a large part of his life Sai Baba used to sleep every alternate night, was a dismal mud structure, like the original mosque, but a large part of it collapsed in 1916 and it was rebuilt in brick. A large portrait of Sai Baba is kept here. It may be asked why Sai Baba's Hindu followers should have buried and not cremated the body. Actually, it is a tradition that the body of a realized one should be buried. He has passed through the fire already. There is no need to do a symbolical fire after death, as in cremation. There was something delusive about his death and burial, because all knew that Sai Baba had not died. He was arranging his survival at the same time as his burial. Some 2 weeks beforehand, when they had no suspicion that death was approaching, he ordered R.B. Purandari and H.S. Dixit to leave for Bombay, telling them, "I will go on ahead and you can follow me. My tomb will speak. My clay will give you replies." This should have been warning enough, but one must remember that Sai Baba's devotees were accustomed to hearing strange sayings from him. In fact, a lady once told Sai Baba that she depended on him utterly for refuge and guidance, and would be hopelessly adrift without him, and asked him what she was to do when he passed away. He replied categorically, "Wherever and whenever you think of me, I shall be with you." Once again, a parallel arises with Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. When his death was approaching, some devotees appealed to him in the same way, and he replied tersely, "You attach too much importance to the body." The implication was obviously the same. There was no change in Sai Baba's guidance of devotees, his answering of prayers, and his protection in time of trouble. Indeed, so continuous is Sai Baba's influence that in hearing or reading accounts by his devotees of their experiences, one does not find any dividing line. such as 1918, which is the supposed time of his mahasamadhi, the same kind of episodes occurring before and after. And of course, with most of the devotees one meets today, all cases of intervention came from after that date. Baba appears to them in dreams and visions as before. They turn to him and receive his answer and protection. When decision is difficult, they write out various solutions on slips of paper, and with a prayer for guidance, place them beneath his picture and accept the one they draw as his instruction. He invisibly guides and influences them. Baba has said that no devotee of his shall lack for food or shelter, and they have found it so. People turn to him in distress and find relief. And deeper down, beneath this gracious help in the storms of life, is the spiritual current, maturing them to deeper and less tangible rewards. A devotee has recorded how he visited another saint, Narayan Maharaj, in 1927, looking upon him as Baba in a different form, still attached to Sai Baba, but craving the consolation of a human presence of a saint to see and a human voice to answer him. He said nothing of all this, but the saint told him, "Yours is the supreme Guru. He is of a higher rank than I. Why have you come here? Your choice of a Guru is excellent. Go to him and you will achieve your purpose." Another tells how his child was sick with pneumonia in 1934 and had in addition an open abscess on the chest. He noted, "The doctor was afraid to operate on the abscess on account of his weakness. It was a wide open wound. The doctor would not help me, so I relied on my own doctor, Sai Baba, and put a little of his udi, the sacred ash, into the wound. The deputy collector, Mr. Jadhav, asked me whether I was confident of a cure and within what time the gaping wound would be healed. I answered, within 24 hours. That night, Sai Baba appeared to me in a dream and rebuked me, saying, 'You should have said immediately.' I apologized in my dream, and when I woke up the next morning, the wound was healed. Jadhav was so surprised that he asked for some of Sai Baba's udi for his own 4-year-old son, who was down with pneumonia. It was already the 6th day of his fever when I gave him the udi, and the fever stopped the next day, although the doctor had told him it would take another 3 days at least." The same child who was cured of the abscess had already been saved by Sai Baba when he was 2 years old. He had fallen downstairs. There was a heap of debris at the bottom of the stairs, and his father ran up to him in alarm. To his surprise, he found the child quite unhurt. "It's all right," the little one said. "Baba helped me up." These are old tales. Those one hears today are mostly from devotees who were born since 1918, but they are no less vivid, and the help given is no less potent. None could be more categorical about this than Sai Baba, who said, "I shall remain active and vigorous even after leaving this earthly body. My shrine will bless my devotees and fulfill their needs. My relics will speak from the tomb. I am ever living to help those who come to me and seek refuge in me. If you cast your burden on me, I will bear it. If you seek my help and guidance, I will immediately give you it. There shall be no want in the house of my devotee." It is because his succor has been found so prompt and potent that he has such vast numbers of devotees, now as in his lifetime. But it is good to remember also that other saying of his, where Baba speaks, "I give people what they want in the hope that they will begin to want what I want to give them." And this last section appears to be added by Lucia Osborne in 1971, before the second publication of this book. And she writes, "During our 4-year stay in Calcutta," this is Lucia and Arthur, in the 1960s, the neighboring flat was occupied by one Miss Dutton, a very pious old lady in her 60s or 70s. When we came to know her better, she told me that she used to be a nun and spent the best part of her life in a convent. Being rather impulsive, a common thing with redheads, she found discipline increasingly irksome, resulting in conflicts and unpleasantness. In short, she did not get on all with the other nuns. Towards the end, she felt she could not stand it any longer. With the cooperation of the nuns in charge, she applied to Rome for absolution from her vows, and this was granted with scarcely any delay. While her application was pending, Miss Dutton was too preoccupied with her conflicts to give much thought to her future. When she was about to leave the convent, it dawned on her how hopeless her future was without any profession, with very few relatives, the nearest being a nephew in faraway Calcutta. One day, while sitting in her cell immersed despondently in the deepest gloom, a tall fakir appeared before her suddenly. How he got in she could not tell, as it would not have been almost impossible for a Moslem, and a fakir especially, to gain entrance to the cell of a nun. He looked at her with compassion and told her, "Do not worry much. Everything will be all right when you go to Calcutta." Then he asked her for dakshina, a gift of money to holy men. She told him that she had no money. "Oh yes, you have 35 rupees in a box in the cupboard there," he replied. "And do you know," she added, "I had completely forgotten about this money, put away for a rainy day." She went to the cupboard to look, and there it was. But when she turned around with her gift, the fakir was gone. He just disappeared in the same way as he had come. She felt at peace. Now she also had enough money for her immediate expenses. In Calcutta, her nephew received her very kindly and was looking after her with love and care, which he extended even to her pets. He may still be doing so now. Miss Dutton was all praise for him and so grateful that she used to get up every day before dawn to go to church to give thanks and attend Mass. This discipline she now seemed to enjoy. "I will show you a picture of the fakir," I told her, convinced from the moment that she mentioned dakshina that it could have been none other than Sai Baba. Luckily, there was a picture of Sai Baba in our flat, which I fetched and showed to the old lady. The moment she saw it, she exclaimed, "This is my fakir. He even had the same white kerchief on his head." She had never heard of Sai Baba before. Sai Baba appeared to her once more, but this time in a dream, in which her body was being taken out of a bier by 4 men. He stood near her, took her hand, and she felt as if a heavy burden had dropped from her, and there was such peace and happiness she felt watching the dead body. She awoke with the afterglow of that peace.